welcome everybody. I see a lot of familiar names, at least on the list here. So it looks like we're going to have just a fantastic turnout today. Let me just quickly jump in and introduce my co-host, Ryan Miller. You want to say hi, Ryan?
Hey everybody, SVP of Marketing and Sales. Love all things B2B. Super stoked to be here.
And Lauren, our moderator. Say hi, Lauren.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren. I'm just a HubSpot type person here at Vindy Digital, and excited to see what Jay has to say about email because, that's right up my alley.
Yeah, email is like so much the secret sauce, and I can't wait for us to get into that today. And let me just, without further ado, introduce our special guest to you today. And I want to tell you, if you're not following Jay Schwedelson, and I've got links on the agenda there, and Lauren's going to drop the agenda a couple of times throughout the session today, you need to follow this guy. I discovered Jay a couple of years ago, getting ready to go to our very first HubSpot inbound. Sherry Otto, who was at HubSpot at the time, a member of our community today, was doing a webinar with this guy, Jay Swedelson, about email marketing. And I watched the webinar mainly because I knew Sherry, and I just was blown away. I mean, it was a fire hose of information, but so useful, so practical. And I'm like, I got to follow this guy. And then I went to inbound and I caught one of your sessions, Jay. I can't remember which one it was. And I was blown away. And then when I came to inbound this past year, I tried to catch every session that you were doing. I think you did at least, I
Thanks.
went to at least three of your sessions. So one of them was on the big stage, which was that your first time, Jay, to be on the big stage?
It was when they asked me to do that. I'm like, are you sure? Because they have the president of Disney and like Ryan Reynolds and then like a doofus like me. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's see what happens. So it was super cool. It was fun. It was just it was wild. Inbound's wild.
Yeah, it's a one. If you guys have not been to Inbound, I don't even know if you need to really be a HubSpot customer to appreciate all the
Yeah.
great content that's there. It's so good.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
Jay really is the guru of B2B email marketing. He actually has a conference called the Guru Conference. He's also the host of Do This, Don't Do This. Do this, don't do that. Sorry, podcast. One of the podcasts I absolutely listen to every single week. Such good tips, such fast paced. I really enjoy it. So, without further ado, Jay, you want to say hi to everybody?
I'm super happy to be here. I know that this is a monthly thing, so it's an honor just to be a part of it. And I love all things B2B. I love talking email. It's just going to be fun and excited to share the latest and greatest. So thanks for the invite.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So, Ryan, I think we got a big announcement we want to share before we jump into
Yeah,
everything.
couple things. So you guys may have heard little sneak peeks here and there, but Bendy's going through a rebrand, and we're not going to show you a whole lot yet, but we're going through a rebrand top to bottom. We're transforming and elevating everything we do because we've just amassed a lot of information, and we know from talking to all of you and the 30 plus thousand B2B marketers in our community what's needed out there. And one of the things that we're super excited about is next month you will see a different format for this recording. We're moving over to a new technology called Riverside. It's going to really allow us to create more compelling content, better visuals, allow us to cut and edit even a little bit faster so we get you guys more content that you really want. And plus you get to have goofballs like Jay and I here, doing our thing and talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. But the other thing is we're going to rename this. So someday I'll give you the backstory and the arm wrestling between Paul and I. But a year later, we figured it out. So we're actually getting ready to launch an entire network. So sneak peeks, but more to come. So we're just super thrilled, and we hope you guys are too.
Yeah, Ryan told me the day that he started over a year ago, he's like, I really hate the name Demand Gen Jam Session. Like, try to say that 10 times fast. And I'm like, I don't want to try to say that 10 times fast. And so after a year, we finally are going to change the name. Can't wait to tell you guys about that next month. By the way, I know there's some Zoom links on our event page. We'll help you guys get transferred over because those things are going to change next month, but really excited for the future.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I do want to get into a couple of chat discussions if you, as usual, if you've been here a few times. So for timeliness sakes, we'd love to get an idea of what were your favorite Super Bowl commercials, or if you had just one, what would it be? So go ahead and send those into the chat. And what we'd like to do too is if you guys participate, we'd like to reach out to you privately for those of you who engage and select some of you to receive some swag, a little bit of love in the mail. Okay, Doritos from Rami, that's great. Seal, pickleball, yeah, pickleball. How do you not go there? So that's awesome. So keep those coming. And then while you're also thinking about that, kind of rack your brain a little bit for some of those email challenges, the thorns in your side. Like, what are the things that really irk you, right? So if you really just go into it and break it down to open clicks or conversions of the things that you struggle with the most or whatever else, what if you're ever laying awake at night thinking about email, what's that thing that really just irks you? We'd love to know so we can kind of help dive into that.
Man, I love seeing all of these different commercials. It's not like one commercial kind of jumped out. I mean, everybody's kind of hitting on the different ones. So that's pretty cool.
Google Pixel, anything with Matthew McConaughey, of course,
Yeah.
Budweiser. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting brand studies in here too. We won't get into that today, but there's some amazing things to unpack.
I thought the McConaughey one was, I mean, it was cool that Salesforce had a Super Bowl commercial, but gosh, I thought AI could do more than change my flight or something. I mean, I was a little surprised by the use cases that they had him talk about. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, they've been beating on that drum for a couple of years now, so we'll see where they go.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Also, just let us know what really is keeping you awake at night when it comes to email. I know it's like got to get it in the inbox, got to get it open, got to get it clicked, got to get it converting. I mean, those are all hard things. I know we struggle with them, and we're an agency. We do this for ourselves, and we do it for our clients, and we still have a hard time making it all work. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted Jay to join us today because, man, one of the cool things, and I'm sure Jay you'll get into this, is just the huge amount of research that you guys have available to you to help you really learn what's working and not working. So if you're following along in the agenda, and Lauren, go ahead and drop it in there. I'm sure you have already. I'm not going to share my screen until we get to Jay's presentation, and Jay will share his screen at that point. But we wanted to just rip on some topics related to email marketing to kind of get the juices flowing. And I'm going to moderate this, but I'd love to get Jay and Ryan your perspective on this. But the first one is under the general discussion, why won't email die? I mean, think about it. It's been around. I hate to date myself, but I was around when email first showed up on the scene, and it wasn't even called email. It was called profs, and it was for inter-office communication to replace memos. And that was like the early 90s. And here we are, 2025. Slack's tried to take it down. Direct messages have tried to take it down. If you think about it, Google got started in around 2000, and now it's already getting disrupted with AI, but email is still here. Ryan, Jay, why is that?
Well, look, for me, your email database is the most valuable asset in your company, and it's becoming more and more valuable because it's the only marketing channel on the planet where at any given moment you can communicate your message to your entire audience. If you look at social now, regardless of platform, anytime you share something organically, less than 10% of your network and followers are going to see it. And if you try to compete on paid search, it's super expensive. TV is super expensive. Send an email costs relatively no money, and you're going to get it to your whole audience. So there is no other channel like that on the planet. So it's not going anywhere. And to me, anybody that says email doesn't work for them, it just means you're just not doing it right, because email works for everybody as long as you're playing the game, and it's always changing. So the irony about email is, yeah, it's really old. It's been around forever. But what we talk about today, I promise you 12 months from now, it's going to be radically different because that's email marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I equate email to the cockroach of the animal kingdom. It just doesn't die. It can survive anything, right? And it keeps doing it. And it does that because it's resilient. It does that because it knows how to adapt, right? It does that because it knows how to, make itself valuable when you do it correctly. The other thing that I love about it, and the reason it does work so well, is it's our primary and cheapest source of first party data.
Yeah.
Right. So we have that information. We know who you are. And it's our responsibility to create an environment where we learn about you through your activities. And it's our obligation, and we're going to get into this today with Jay today, but it's our obligation to use that first party data and all those signals and triggers to create a great experience for you that adds value to your life, not just pitch slap and meet with me. Right. So that's why I think it's been around forever.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is it is truly a universal communication platform, right? Like DM is not universal, Slack is not universal. It's where business gets done. I mean, it's how we work with each other internally. It's how we work with vendors. And it's also incredibly intimate. When you think about it, that email is something that we check so many times a day where we don't necessarily go to social media like that as much. So I don't see anything in the near future disrupting it. Although, asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said I saw anything disrupting Google the way AI is disrupting Google today. So who knows? Maybe there's a disruptor out there. Let's move on to the next topic. And, Jay, I watch a lot of your content. I read all your posts. I love everything that you say. You talk a lot about subject lines. I know you're going to get into that in a little bit. I think there's this misconception out there about the difference between hooks and clickbait, right? Because I know sometimes, especially in B2B, it's like, oh, do I want a really sexy hook to get somebody to open my email? Doesn't that feel a little clickbaity? What's your take on that, Jay?
So in B2B, everyone's nervous, right? They're like, oh, we can't do that. It's off brand. We're in a regulated industry. We're very conservative. We can't do that. I'm like, that's awesome. Go out of business because at the end of the day, you are communicating with human beings, right? And so the only difference between a hook and clickbait is that clickbait doesn't deliver on the hook, right? Clickbait is it says this outrageous thing and then it doesn't deliver on it. But essentially, they're the same thing. And if you don't, the way you have to always think about email, it's like a chain. Okay, your from name has to be compelling. It can't just be your brand. It has to be like maybe your brand plus events or something. Your subject line has to be incredible. All right, your pre-header needs to be incredible. Every step in the process needs to be incredible because if any step along the way is broken and you lose their interest, then they're gone, right? And so not having your subject line have an incredible hook and then your headline have an incredible hook, right? You will lose that person and there's no such thing as off-brand. I'm not telling you to use 15 emojis in your subject line, but if you don't want to play the game and say something that's going to grab the attention of somebody, right? If you're starting out your email subject line, it says webinar, it's going to be great today about whatever. That's the most boring thing on earth. Nobody cares, right? Instead, you want to say, 71% of people think about blah, blah, blah. Get them excited about the topic and not bore them to tears. And so, yeah, it feels like clickbait, but really it's just a hook to get them to keep to the next step.
Yeah, ouch. I think our webinar emails sound like that. We need to connect with those human beings a little bit more, but that's a great point. I mean, when you think about AI and everything, how much email we're getting today just because of I think AI and all that other stuff, we still have to cut through the noise. How about you,
Yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah, so it always comes back to human behavior. And the majority of us, especially in B2B, either forget or choose to ignore basic human emotions. So some of the stuff that Jay was speaking on is like, okay, well, get me excited, right? Or cause a little fear sometimes. Like I don't really like fear-based marketing, but sometimes that fear of what am I not doing correctly, especially if it taps on an interest that you know you have, can provoke an emotion. You can also go after the happy emotion, right? You can go after those emotions, but ultimately getting somebody excited or causing some emotion that creates that attachment to that particular action, which is a click, right? Because every one of us on this call who's listening and here, no matter what brand you are, the number one competitor is time and attention. That's it. That's all we're competing for,
Right.
right? So leveraging better things, and it's hard too, especially if some of you are working within your own brands and they have all those compliance issues and they have the brand conversation. I wish I could cuss more on these things, but ultimately, F that and go have some fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. Great.
absolutely. Yeah, Jay, I think you said it really well. I mean, clickbait doesn't deliver on the promise, but at the end of the day, we have to hook our audience or they're just going to scroll right on by, just like they do in social media. And I can't remember if it was you, Jay, that said this or somebody else. I'm 58, so things jumble in my brain these days. But um, I think it was like spend 40% of your time on the content and 60% of the time on the hook because you got to get the hook right or the content won't matter at all. Are you the one that said that?
I didn't say that, but I buy into that 100% because you think of the body of your email, nobody's actually reading your email, right? They're going to read the first half of your subject line. They're going to read the headline of your email. They might read one bullet. They'll read the PS. They're not reading your email, right? So it's not about all those other words. It's about the big words, the big things that stand out to people. And you kind of have to wire your brain that way. You can't just write these paragraphs. Like, who cares? It's so boring.
Yeah. And I know, Jay, you're going to get into this a little bit in your presentation because I looked through the slides to get ready for today. But just in the power of even the right kind of call to actions and the things that really
Mm.
are going to matter to the people. I can't wait for you to share that. And
Yeah.
which was a great segue into the next topic under general here, which is, how do buyers read our emails? And I think you kind of nailed it. Anything you want to add to that, Ryan?
No, I mean, I was gonna say yes. The only interesting thing too is on some of the tech platforms like HubSpot, they'll show you read versus skimmed versus opened versus whatever, right? A lot of that's just scroll depth stuff, but it's crazy the number of people who just skim stuff. And you look at your own behavior, and that's another thing I would say too, is just go look at your own behavior and how you consume emails, especially even the ones you like,
Yeah.
right? And what you're looking for. But ultimately it is to Jay's point, make it short, make it sweet, make it count, and get the hell on with your life.
Yeah. Another interesting thing, I'm going to connect two dots here about why email won't die and how people read your email. I just think about my own personal practice. Like I knew we were doing this jam session on email marketing. And so for the last 60 days, anybody that sent me an email about email marketing, I've kind of saved it in my inbox as like a file cabinet. So my inbox becomes a file cabinet. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, Jay's coming on the show. I better sound like I know what I'm talking about with email. So I can go into my, open up my inbox, do a search for email, and there's all the email marketing posts about or email posts about email marketing. And so that's just another way. So I never read those emails. I just saw them. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to delete that because it might be relevant. And then once I was getting ready for this, I decided to search and just find those things. So
Now I
really
gotta share,
interesting.
I gotta share one that came to my inbox this morning. I'm not even gonna go look at it. I haven't even opened it, but I kind of want to. But it was like something that was like, "Hey Siri, ask Ryan a question."
That's crazy.
I've
That
never
was
seen
good.
that one before, and I was like, I gotta go to this webinar, but I'll come back to that one.
I like
Yeah,
that.
that's
That's
pretty
good.
good.
That's good.
I was
That's
kind of
curiosity. That's awesome. That's a good hook.
Yeah.
Um, hey, moving on to the next topic here. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of Jay's Do This, Don't Do That podcast. And
Nice.
I was listening to, I don't know if it was the last one or last week's or one of the previous ones, but you talked about this idea of double personalization. And I just thought that was fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, personalization, when we talk about personalization, everyone's like, okay, you got to personalize all your emails. And of course, and a lot of times people default to the subject line of personalization. And the worst thing you could do is first name personalization. If you're still doing J, comma, check this out. I mean, that is 1995. That actually doesn't even work anymore. That's not personalization. It just looks like wallpaper. What does work for B2B personalization, and the way you always want to think about it is how fast can you tell somebody who they are? Right? So often in B2B, we segment an audience, but we don't tell the audience they're in the segment, right? So if you segment the audience and then you tell them they're in that segment and you put that, for example, in the subject line, it does incredibly well. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're segmenting out a certain industry. Okay, you're going after people in the retail industry, and if you were to put in the subject line, this is just for retail pros. All of a sudden, if I'm in the retail industry, I'm like, oh my god, this is for me. I got to check this out. You're telling somebody who they are, right? Or if you're going after certain job functions in your database, this is for marketing directors. Oh, I'm a marketing director. I got to check that out, right? And so that type of personalization, telling somebody who they are, works incredibly well. But the thing that we're seeing now is this idea of double personalization, where you're taking two of those elements in the subject line, especially, and also in the body copy, and you're telling them who they are. So you could say, for example, you could take their employee size and you could take their industry, right? So just for mid-market professionals in the retail sector, all of a sudden you're
Right.
like, whoa, that's me, right? Or for small business owners, right, in construction, right? And then the more you could show the person that this is for you and not for everybody else, that's when we want to engage. And you have the data because you're segmenting your campaigns. You're just not flipping the script and telling them that they're in the segment. And that is the secret sauce. That is how you really can get performance.
Yeah, that's so great because, man, I get, just like you said, if I were to pull up and share my inbox right now, every subject line's got my name in it or Vindy's name in it. And that's not getting my attention at all. But the idea of double personalization, I've never heard you say, tell them who they are. Let's segment, but tell them who they are. That's just brilliant. One of the things we say at Vindy is personalization is about making the person feel like you're giving them exactly what they need at just the right time, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of our definition. So how do we segment our list in such a way that we can make them feel that way, even though 500 people may have gotten the same email, we still want them to feel like it was just for them and just the right time. Great stuff. Ryan, anything you want to add to that?
Absolutely. So if any of you, when Jay was talking and he's like, you only have a few seconds to tell your reader about, and if you automatically filled in the blank with everything that you do, check yourself because the script is flipped. It's our responsibility to tell our readers who they are, right? So that you guys, if you heard me on these before, I always come back to like the conference bar analogy, right? You're sitting down and you're taking a break, having a cocktail, and the person next to you. It's not your job to tell them about you. It's your job to ask them about them. And email is.
Exactly. Yeah, love it. Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, that was a good conversation. I think now we need to roll into Jay's presentation because he's only got like, I think it was 212 slides or something like that, but we felt like we could cover it in 20 minutes, no problem.
Yeah,
So I'm kidding. I think it's like 30 slides, but still, Jay is one of the fastest presenters that I've ever watched. So be prepared to fasten your seatbelts. You're about to get fire hosed, but I mean that in the most awesome, incredible way that you can be fire hosed. And you're going to love it. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A at the end. And so, Jay, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and pull up the Prezzo, we'll rock and roll.
All right. Excellent. You could see me still. We're in business here.
Yeah, full screen mode means beast mode for you, brother.
There you go. There you go. So ready to rock and roll. Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you all. I cause a lot of anxiety when I speak. There's nothing I could do about it. I just want to get out as much information as possible. And it really doesn't matter what I do for a living. I just want to share with you where my data comes from. So I have an agency, about a 100-person agency in South Florida called Alchemy Media. We don't just do email. We do all sorts of media. But as it relates to email, we do on the B2B side, we'll do about 3.5 billion email messages sent out on behalf of our clients each year. And then we have a research group that we bring that all together. And that's where our data comes out. So it's a lot of real-time trends. And then we also have websites like subjectline.com and all sorts of other nonsense that we do. So I just want to share where my data comes from, and that's where it comes from. So let's jump into it. Weekdays versus weekend. I love the State Farm guy. I feel bad for Drake. He had a rough Super Bowl. But putting that aside, they're very, very different times. We've always thought for B2B, but there's been a lot of new data that has come out for B2B. And a lot of you out there, you're like, oh, this doesn't apply to me because I'm in, healthcare, I'm in financial services, I'm in this regulated thing, whatever. This applies to everybody. And that's what I was saying before. You have to think of people as a human being. So Media Post came out with this really, really interesting data in the last few months showing that on the weekends, web traffic from decision makers, VP and above, VPs and C-level contacts, that traffic to our content has gone up significantly on the weekends. And sadly, you may be like, well, I try to turn it off. I don't work on the weekends. Well, amazing. Way to go. Good for you. I can't turn it off. And we see it in the data. Now on the weekends, what happens is it's like we're able to consume content more, especially decision makers, the people that you all are going after. So for example, business to business weekend email click-through rates year over year. If you look at 2023 to 2024, click-through rates for B2B emails have gone up 62%. I don't know about you all, but I read emails. I have time to read them. I'm not getting Slack. I'm not getting Microsoft Teams. I can read them. And the beautiful part is email volume is 88% lower for business to business emails, than during the week. The mistake that B2B marketers make, is this. They'll go, well, it's crazy guy Jay who talked way too fast. We tested out sending out on Sunday, but Tuesday does so much better for us. So Jay is wrong. And that's the mistake. What you want to be thinking about doing is having a benchmark data, right, for your weekend sends and benchmark data for your during the week sends. Right. And you just want to be beating yourself. Great. Your during the week sends are getting a 35% open rate and a 6% click-through rate or whatever you're doing. Right. And your weekend ones, they're getting a 25% and a 2%. And you want to just beat yourself on the weekends. You want to beat yourself during the week. They're two very different populations of people. And again, it doesn't matter what your audience is. My wife's a dermatologist, so I always love looking at her emails when she's getting them, all that stuff. I got Botox in my forehead right now. That's not a joke. She's on my case about it always. But it doesn't matter what sector that you're in. If you're not utilizing B2B emails on the weekends, you're leaving crazy important real estate and inventory that you should be testing and figuring out how to play the game. And these are a million examples of different brands and associations and things sending out on the weekends. Here's Grammarly, right? They're sending out 13% of their emails on Sundays. There's a reason for that. How about SaaStr, right? SaaStr, they're sending out a ton of their emails on Saturdays and Sundays. 36% of their emails are going out on the weekends. That's a lot of their emails. Look at that. That is wild. So weekends have become part of the week. They're no longer this thing where you just turn it off. Right now, let's get into content. What's the content that we're putting out there? Right? You can't just be like, oh, great, we have a new ebook that's what we're going to promote and think it's going to do as well as maybe a blueprint piece of content. The format of your content, we're interested in different things. It's always changing, right? And so you have to know what is the content literally right now, the last 90 days, that people want to consume from business to business marketers. So first, what's trending downward? If you are being told, hey, we have an infographic, that's what we need to promote. Good luck to you. Infographics are from 1985. No one knows what to do with an infographic. Like, do you download it? Like, what do you do with it? Okay. Nobody reads white paper. I'm not smart enough to read white paper. And no one's actually ever read an entire ebook. It's not a thing. Okay. And they're doing really badly. Now, what is doing really well is things are on the uptick are things like toolkits, of course, calendars at the beginning of the year. Blueprints are doing really, really well. And again, what's the difference between a blueprint and a cheat sheet, and a listicle type thing? Nothing. All we know is that when we see somebody promoting a cheat sheet, the 7 things that HR leaders need to know, the blueprint of how to get your SMB going, whatever it is, right? We're like, oh, that's easy for me to consume. It's authoritative. I know I'll get smarter really quickly, and it crushes it. Quizzes are doing so well in B2B, especially short quizzes. Surveys are dead. Quizzes are alive. And so knowing what content is doing really well is a no-brainer. Swipe files are amazing forms of content where you're taking, different images and different things and just creating a kind of a lookbook of whatever it is that your sector is all about. And this is for every industry. I don't care how boring your industry is. That's what I hear all the time. I can't do that. I'm in this boring industry. That's not true, right? You have to push the agenda because that's why your performance is in the gutter. It just is. I'm sorry. All right. Let's talk about webinars. You're on a webinar. Webinars are still, and they will be, a go-to content format. I love webinars. I just happen to hate the word webinar. Webinar is a boat anchor. When you hear webinar, it equals boring. So we did this whole crazy study, and we took the exact same events, right? The exact same webinars that we're promoting for hundreds of our clients, okay? And we took them and we said, okay, if we took the same event, same content, same everything, same creative, and all we did was we changed the name from webinar to, let's say, live event, would that change the amount of people registering for that event? And shockingly, it radically changed things. So for example, webinar versus live event, right? You would argue and say, okay, it's not the same thing. Why not? Why is it not the same thing? Are you like the content police? It's the same thing. Live event had a 24% higher registration rate. Webinar versus digital workshop, slightly better. Webcast, which I don't even know what a webcast is, okay? That one's a no-go. That one didn't do well. Webinar versus live panel. Webinar's up 11%. Webinar versus virtual event, 18%. How about this one? What would you rather attend? A webinar or an insider session? That sounds awesome,
Yeah,
right? So if you're just going through, the same steps, and you're like, okay, we have a webinar, and you're just like, webinar : register today. And then in your email, you open it up, you got those 2 little circles of people's faces that are going to speak, and no one has any idea who they are except for you and their moms, okay? And you have that big block of text. I could see everybody's webinar promos. They stink. Nobody cares. They're boring. You have to rethink everything. That is how it works. So I know I get worked up. I can't help myself. I don't know why. I get very worked up because there's so many nothing in email is the one thing that you're going to do that's going to change everything. It's a series of very, very, very little things, right? And that is what we want to be thinking about. So the other thing I hear the most about is win back. Oh, we have, 50% of our database hasn't opened or clicked on email in over, 12 months and over a year and a half, whatever. What are we going to do? We got to win them back. We got to wake the dead. First of all, I hate even having this slide in the deck because let them go. They don't care about you. You're wasting your energy on people that don't care. Okay. But if you have to play the game, you want to win them back. There are 2 very specific ways that will cause you massive stress that we have found to be the ultimate way to win people back for your people that have not opened or clicked on one of your emails in the last 6 months. Okay. And that is this idea of confirmation status. What freaks people out is when they think that they're losing some sort of status or some information out there about them or whatever. when you have confirmation status subject lines, okay, as your outreach for your non-engaged contacts, it increases email open rates by over 30% for over 12 months there, right? So
Wow.
for example, if you send an email to people who haven't opened or clicked on one of your emails in over 12 months and over a year, and you get the email, right? And all of a sudden the email says, "Are you still with Acme?" That person is like, "Yeah, like, did HR call you? Like, what are you talking about?" And then all of a sudden you're going to open it up. You're like, "Well, great, because we have this special piece of content that we want you to check out." Now, it works really well because it freaks the person out. But you have to be tough, because you will get a lot of unsubscribes. You're going to be like, "How dare you? Who are you? What are you thinking? That wasn't very nice." But they woke back up. Hooray, they're back in your mix, okay? Same thing for, did you leave the retail sector, whatever your industry is? And they open up, say, "Oh, great, you didn't leave the retail sector. Cool. We have this thing, blah, 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 whatever." This is like a freak out. Everything else doesn't work. If you're sending out emails that say, "We miss you," that's ridiculous. Please, that's horrendous. Anyway, let's talk about other things. The other thing, and ironic, because I know that this will be available on demand, that doesn't mean anybody's doing anything wrong. But the thing that we do wrong with webinars is that we make it like Netflix. Just watch it whenever you want. Don't worry. You don't have to show up. Just, who cares? It'll be available forever. And you know what you do is you register for a webinar with the intention of not going. Then they send you the recording. You don't even care. You do not click on it. You never watch it. Nobody does. Okay, and then you don't go into that company's pipeline. The whole thing stinks. And there's a reason I'm telling you this, because there's new things that you can do. People who show up live to webinars, okay, convert to pipeline 400% more than those that watch on demand, because you're in it. You actually showed up. So now we have to figure out, how do we get people to show up? What can we do to get our show up rates higher? Because year over year show up rates are in the garbage can. They're down 25% year over year, and they're going lower because we have trained ourselves to be like Netflix. We have trained everybody out there that you don't need to show up. Don't worry. You'll get the on-demand link. That's terrible. So what's working really, really well is this idea of attend to receive. Webinar show up rates are 35% higher when you have exclusive content that exists only for live attendees, right? Attend to receive. What do I mean by that? So imagine you're getting these webinar promos, and you have to aggressively put it in, like the headline and the body copy and the whole way through. Only live attendees get the Q3 trends report. Exclusive Q&A session won't be available on demand. Early access to our product release for live, only for beta, only for live attendees, right? Live whatever. You want to have a piece of your webinars that only the people that show up will get the content piece, the thing, the savings, the whatever. That's how you get that boost in attendance. If you just want to play the game the normal way, call it a webinar, don't worry, you don't have to come, it's on demand, great, good luck to you. You're going to get no business, whatever. The other thing that you can do, it's very, very hard to create FOMO for a webinar. Nobody has a fear of missing out on a webinar. That's weird. Why would you have fear, right? But you actually can create some urgency with your webinar promotions. And this is crushing it. It is increasing this idea of speed to registration in your emails is increasing registration rates by over 400%. So imagine you're sitting there, you get these emails, right? And then the email says, first 100 to register, get pitfall to avoid tip sheet. Oh, wow. I want that pitfall to avoid tip sheet. I better hurry up and register. Right? It creates this urgency to register for the webinar. People jump on board. Or, this is my favorite, only the first 100 to register get on-demand access. Now, you're saying, well, I can't do that. I need to give everybody on-demand access. But here's how you play the game. And this is where so many of you are going to hate me. You probably hate me already because I talk too fast. And I don't know. Well, I'm all over the place. But that's okay. So you're like, I can't do that. I need to get everybody on demand. So here's what you do. You take all your webinars. So on average, we get, 30 people to come to our webinars. That's how many people come to our webinars, whatever. That's how many people register. So what you do is you double that number. You say, okay, double that number 60. So now if you say only the first 100 to register get the on-demand access, you're still giving it to everybody. Nobody knows how many people register for your stuff. They have no idea. Make the number bigger, Okay, so that you still can give everybody on-demand access, but you're able to create that FOMO, that urgency with your webinars, and everybody wins. Hooray! Everybody wins. I said you're going to hate me because you're like, well, that's not right. Why not? Why not? All right, let's talk about some data stuff. Okay, let's talk about some data stuff because that's important. Data is important. Here's something that I think that B2B marketers sleep on. This is important for two reasons. Number one, maybe you have email deliverability problems, okay? Maybe not everything's going to the inbox or it's not even getting there. Number two, your BDRs and salespeople should be thinking like this. Every B2B marketer should be doing a domain frequency report at least quarterly. What does that mean? You take your database, okay, and you sort it by the number of contacts that you have at the different domains in your database, right? You have 100,000 people in your database. You sort it by the people by the domain that they're in, right? And then what you will see, example here is like, oh, we have over 1,000 people at Amazon.com in our database. We have 295 people at Google.com in our database. Why does this matter? It matters for two things. Number one, from a deliverability standpoint, oftentimes if you have too many contacts at a given domain and then you hit send, when you hit send, it creates like this bottleneck in your sending, right? Because especially the receiving infrastructures you're sending to, they're like, Amazon's like, wait a minute, why are we getting 1,000 emails from this IP address, this domain, this sender? This has got to be garbage. Let's dump it all in the junk, right? Or it will create a bottleneck in your actually outbound delivery. A great test for you to do is take any domain that you have where you have more than 25 contacts at a given domain and take all those where you have a lot of contacts, put them off to the side, and now do a send to everybody where you have less than 25 at a given domain. And I promise you, I bet your deliverability and your inboxing, it skyrockets. It's a great test to try. But then the other thing you want to think about is you will find secret gold in your domain frequency report, because what happens is you make, wait a minute, why do we have 38 contacts at whatever hospital? They're not even a client of ours. They're really consuming our content. Our sales team should reach out to them. Your domain frequency report can tell a story that you may not be aware of in terms of what companies you should be talking to, right? So there's a lot of value there in a domain frequency report. Another place there's a lot of value is your email bounce file. People sleep on their bounce file. You send out an email, okay? Send out to 20,000 people on whatever platform you're using, and 300 emails bounce, meaning they're undeliverable. And you're like, oh, that stinks. That's how many people bounced. We can't email to those people anymore. And you don't even think about it again. You want to turn your email bounce file into an account-based marketing file. Why? Because those companies where those people work, they're really important. They may be your current clients. They may be great prospects. And now those contacts are gone. Uh-oh. Right? So you want to take that bounce file of all the people that, are no longer deliverable, and you want to turn that into an ABM file, an account-based marketing file, and you want to market to those companies. You want to make sure that you have the net new person that's sitting in that chair, because you could lose an account. You could lose your business. Where did that person go? If you're just sleeping on your bounce file, you're leaving an incredibly important piece of your marketing mix off to the side, which I think is a big mistake. All right, let's do a few more things. ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. This one's the dumbest slide I'm about to show you of all time. By the way, I make my own memes. They're all ridiculous and they're all horrible, but hey, makes me laugh. What are you going to do? So this is ridiculous, but I don't know why I like doing this. If you go to your inbox, okay, I sign up for, I have one folder for anybody that I deem to be a competitor of mine. I put them all in one folder. And then I also sign up for a million newsletters. I put in another folder. But what you can do is take all of the emails, and let's say whatever folder you want, okay, and minimize your screen. Make it super small, like I did here, crazy small. And then you take a screenshot of that thing. You can't even read it, all right? And then you take a screenshot and you upload the image. This is on the free version of ChatGPT. You upload the image of that screenshot to ChatGPT, and you tell it this. You say, this is my inbox. Tell me specifically which emails will likely get the highest open rates and the lowest open rates, and tell me why, and rank them top 5 and the worst 5. Now, you're going to say, well, this is meaningless. This is stupid. This is whatever. I guarantee you it's an idea starter. And it also will tell you why it's saying that. And it has the most data on the planet. This has worked really, really well for us in getting new ideas, new subject line ideas to test, and it's just kind of fun. So that's a fun one to try. A few other things. The buttons in your emails. Okay, let's say we're promoting that webinar, and when you promote a webinar, what does that rectangular button say in your emails? Okay, what does it say? You know what it says? It says register. I hate that word. Why do I hate that word? Because that's a benefit to you, the sender. That's not a benefit to the person receiving it. And that should be in your mind at all times. What is in it for them? Right? So first off, the first tip is you always want to write your call to action buttons. I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care how boring your industry is. You want to write it in first person. We see click-through rates rise by over 20% when your call to action buttons are written in first person. What do I mean by that? So if you did an A/B test, what would you rather open for a webinar promo? Register or save my spot? Register or I want in. When you write those call to action buttons in first person, it crushes it because it makes the person feel a little bit more excited about it. The other thing we're seeing is this idea of call to action sentences, right? Call to action sentences. That button can have a lot of words. Okay, it doesn't need to be one word. Okay, it could be a lot of words. So now what you can do, for example, is you can personalize in that button, right? So let's say your content piece you're sending out, are you writing the word download? That's a benefit to you. Or are you writing the thing in a way that the person feels like it's for them? So what would you rather click on? Download or I want top HR tips because I'm an HR professional, right? You slug in there whatever that title is, that function, that whatever, you write it in first person and it crushes it, right? Or you could do it with the industry, register or save my spot for retail 2025 Outlook. Awesome. That's what I want to do. Great. Okay. Now, when your call to action buttons, okay, include, for example, your call to action plus the job function, it increases click-through rates by 22%. Call to action plus industry, 19%. Call to action plus interest, 17%. Those buttons are gold. All right. So we're going to get to Q&A. I would love to connect with everybody on LinkedIn. I share way too much garbage on LinkedIn. Please, please, please connect with me there. I'm also oddly now on Instagram, and I'm very cringe on there. I'm trying my best, but would love to connect with you on Instagram. It's my full, horribly long name. So please connect with me on both. And Paul was super nice. He mentioned I have a podcast. There's 54,000 marketing podcasts on the planet. Right now, we're number 3 in the country. I don't know why, but they're very short. We come out with a lot of episodes every week. If you like stressful anxiety, talking really fast, that's me. It's called Do This, Not That. I hope you check it out. If you do, you're my best friend. And then if you want to get my newsletter, if you want this crazy calendar, we have the best and worst days to send out email calendar for B2B. You want a link to my podcast, you want the slides, just email me at jays@corpwd.com and I will send you everything. Just drop me a note that says, I want everything. I will get you everything. I'm going to drop this email in the chat. And now I will shut up. Okay.
Jay,
We did it.
wow, that was fantastic.
I
Honestly,
think
at 38 slides or however many that was, I was like, I wonder if he's going to get through, but I kind of had the feeling that you were going to get there, brother. So great job. I do want to tell folks the slides are in the agenda. I meant to share that before you started talking, but you can download those slides. A couple of things, Jay, you did a post or something with that chat GPT idea a month or so ago. Maybe it was even Q4 of last year. And the minute I saw it, I'm like, I got to go give that a try. So I literally, I squunched my inbox down to like 10%. So there was like as many emails on there, like I couldn't read them, right? But I knew ChatGPT could. And I literally screenshotted it, just like you said. I dropped it in ChatGPT, took your prompt literally word for word, and I was blown away at the great ideas that came out of that. And then I was able to go in and take the good ideas and say, now apply that to my business and on this topic, email marketing or demand gen. And it was amazing how it took the best ones and created amazing subject lines. So that's one of my favorite tips. And we'd love to get your questions in. So go ahead and ask them, chat them in, and then Lauren will monitor that, and we'll get some questions in. Jay, a couple of weeks ago, you had a post, and I created a meme for your post. I think it was about being friendly to Chat GPT or
Yeah,
just
yeah,
getting,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And you're like, man, I
Yeah.
love that. I'm going to keep it. And I said, you can have it. Well, I feel a lot better because I didn't realize until I saw your presentation. I totally ripped off one of your memes about 6 months ago. The one at the end where it's like register and the gal's like first
Right,
contact.
right.
I totally
Yeah.
ripped that off. I didn't even know that I'd done that. So now, hey, we're trading
No,
memes. It's all good.
there you go.
Hey, question for you. One, I love call to action sentences. That just makes so much more sense than a register button. Do you still want it to be like a button that says the active call to action in it, or do you want like a just a hyperlink sentence? Do you know which one works better?
So I'm a big fan of doing both.
Okay,
And I should have said something at the beginning that let's say I put out 10 ideas, you try them all and three of them work. You can be like, oh, Jay's a big doofus, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And that very well may be true. But that's the nature of email marketing in general. It's just about testing and trying things and iterating. So not everything's going to work for everybody. But yeah, I like having both link based and the regular rectangular graphical one, especially anybody that has, their images turned off by default. And that's another hot area of email marketing, especially for B2B, is alt text language. When the images are turned off by default, the language in the naming of your images is
great
really
point.
important that that's offer based. So everything in your email matters.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Is it true that preview text is going away? Is that a thing, or what's the latest on that?
So this is a really interesting topic. So as we all know, Apple came out with their iOS 18, right? And everyone freaked out because on iOS 18, they changed the mail app, which is the blue icon that we all click on to read our email, regardless of what, platform you use. And according to Validity, 47% of all emails clicked on reading that blue icon, right? And so Apple released all these categorizations now, and we have some new data on this on the mail app. So instantly using AI, Apple is categorizing promotions and updates and transactions and whatever. And everyone freaked out. They're like, oh my God, our emails are going to go into the promotions and no one's going to receive them, whatever. And so we literally just completed a new thing now that iOS 18 is really out there. And what's interesting is people are actually turning off the categorizations on their iPhones. Less than 30% of people are leaving it active as of right now from the data that we're seeing. So everyone's going back to the way it was, which is also interesting because in Gmail, about 25% of people have the tabs. That's it, right? And then the other interesting thing is, so then we looked at for those people that do have it activated, right? Are we seeing any performance in terms of B2B offers that are going into the buckets? And we are seeing literally zero change to performance now that the iOS 18 stuff is out there. But back to your question, the pre-headers, the one big change, which I wouldn't make any change right now, is that Apple has removed for any users of iOS 18's update in the mail app, the pre-header showing up. They're using AI to pull from the message and putting whatever pre-header they want in there, which is very, very, very annoying. But the overwhelming majority of people are still seeing pre-headers. So maybe a year from now, pre-headers will die. But as of today, it's very valuable real estate.
Yeah,
And
makes a
go
lot of
Gators, by the
sense.
way. Go
Makes a lot of
Gators,
sense.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
interesting that you mentioned that people are getting back into just the main inbox versus all these segmentations. Because I put it on for a while because I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. It might simplify my life. But I don't know what the primary driver is. My driver was how does it know what's important to me right now without me going and training it and doing it? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want the one that filters out everybody's crappy emails and then the ones that I want. So I'm just curious to see what other people think too. But there was a question, yeah, somewhere had the same thing. So that's a very relevant topic right now.
hey,
Yeah, and
Lauren, any good
people always get
questions?
nervous
Oh, go
that
ahead.
the
Okay.
promotions tab is not, regardless of it's Apple or Gmail, that's not the spam folder, junk folder. That's part of the inbox.
Yeah.
And even in Gmail, because there are some small business owners there, whatever. I never encourage people to try to get out of those things. It's you're chasing your tail. It's a waste of energy, and there's really no down. You're not hurt. Performance is not going down because of it. So again, the whole Apple thing, I would not spend any energy on it right now trying to navigate it at all.
Good stuff. Lauren, any good questions?
Yeah, I mean, kind of on the topic of where you've been at, Haley McCombs wants to know, like, how do we get their emails out of the promotions tab and into the primary tab in Gmail? Any tips on that?
So here's the stat that will blow your mind. I don't think you should try to get out of it. And the amazing part is for the 25% of people in Gmail that have the promotions tab activated, 50% of people check it daily. And why that matters, and the reason you don't see performance go down is it's like going to the mall. When you go to the mall, you're like, what am I buying? You're in buying mode, right?
Mhm.
When you click on the promotions tab, you're not lost. You're not like, where am I? What am I doing? You're going there with the intention to find either B2B content or offers or whatever. You're in a mode. And so it's a great mode. And 50% of people that have it activated are going in there daily. So it's not a bad place to be, and you shouldn't waste your energy trying to get out, in my opinion.
Is it like shopping now? Is that kind of like maybe I have 20 minutes and chill time and I don't want to be on socials. I don't want to, so maybe I'll just go to the promotions because I'm kind of shopping. Like, ooh, what do I need?
Correct.
So that
100%
that
right.
could be a good paradigm shift for all of us. It's like, yeah, we're here to help maybe inspire something or inspire someone and think about it like that.
Totally.
Yeah, Jay,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
No, if we have another question, Nate Holmer is wondering, like, and this is question we have internally all the time, is are these marketing emails that are like more designed and pretty, is that what you see to be more
Great
effective, or
question.
like a personalized word, like it's just text with some hyperlinks, more
That's a
effective?
$1 million question, Lauren. That's a great
So,
one.
so the answer is yes. So what I mean by that is here's the worst thing in B2B. The worst thing in B2B are templates. I'm going to tell you why. Here's what happens with templates. You're like, oh, our emails stink. We need a new template. And so you go get a template. Greatest thing, you check every best practice box, you make this template, and then you hit send. And for like the first month or so, it crushes it. And you're like, high five, we have the best template on earth, right? And you have this confirmation bias that it's doing well. And then it starts to go into the toilet. Because here's what's happening. Your template is not great. That's not what it is. It's the fact that it's something different and that's new. And so what you want to be thinking about is having lots of different, radically different formats, letter format emails, graphic emails that look one way, graphic emails that look another way, some wild templates, some whatever. And you want to be sending them, consistently all over the place. And the
Love
reason
that.
being is you want curiosity. There are certain brands I tell you right now, like Untuck It. I love Untuck It. I could tell you exactly what their email is before I open it up. I know exactly what it's going to look like. And that's literal wallpaper. You want people to be a little bit curious in their subconscious, like, ooh, what is this one going to be? So if you don't have radical departure formats, letter format emails, mostly text, HTML ones, different templates, I think you're missing the boat in B2B.
It's the
Very
same approach with ads. We call it ad fatigue, right? It's the
Yeah,
same thing, having your rotation. So it's just a simple application and thinking over into email, right?
totally.
Awesome. Lauren, you got another one?
Yeah, let's see here. So Danny wants to know like some expanded use cases on that bounce list tip that you gave.
Oh, it's never ending. I'll tell you the one that I use it for in my business, and it freaks me out. One of the things that we're always looking at in my business, so let's say my agency business, is like, okay, I always like to have at least 5 contacts for any of my clients. Okay. And so when we see, or we do the domain frequency report, and if we have anybody that's less than 5, I'm like, uh-oh, not good. We need more. If we see people bouncing from whatever companies are like, uh-oh, not good. We need more people, decision makers, whatever. And so having a North Star in terms of whatever that number is in your organization and then what to do about it is really, really, really important. And to me, that's the best use case for creating an ABM program. It's more important than, oh, we want to work with these companies. Great. Well, we don't want to lose the business from these companies.
Yeah, that's really good. Whenever we promote these events, which we do them every month, we get our bounce report. I send it over to our sales admin and have them look up all the people that bounced to find out where they went. And if
Smart.
we're connected to them, we grab their Gmail because oftentimes in LinkedIn, they'll have their Gmail or their personal email. And we just update the record in HubSpot until we know where they landed with their Gmail. So it's just another way of following them along. And then, when you get that bounce report, it says like when we get them in our inbox, Jay Swedelson's no longer here. Paul Slack is the new person. And here's Paul's email. And we're like, good. Now we've got another person we can reach out to at that company. So those are all
Yeah,
good.
something that we're talking about actually on the podcast this week is this idea of running a year-over-year report. If you take a snapshot of a year ago, exactly on this date today, versus your database today. A year ago, 12 months ago, your database versus today. And then you take every contact in your database that has a new title. Okay? Anybody whose title has changed. Anybody that's at a company and they have a new title, 90% of the time it's a promotion. Okay, that's why they got a new title. Right? They didn't get a demotion. That doesn't happen. And then you take those people year over year that have a new title, and then you do segmentation, you do campaigns to those people because they have more buying power. They're looking to make their mark. They're looking to do that thing. You have gold segmentation in your database, just like the bounce stuff, that you probably don't even realize it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Hey, I know we're getting to the top of the hour, and our promise to everybody is we're always going to be good stewards of your time. We appreciate you spending time with us. Jay, so much good information today. Some of my big takeaways. I love the attend to receive, and I know you're really big on that stuff, even with your big conferences. One thing I did want to make sure that we talked about, Jay's got an amazing conference coming up called Eventastic. I've dropped a link in the agenda to that. Jay, tell us about Eventastic. You know, we're on an event. It's probably something that people that like events should learn more about, right?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's going to be for anybody that puts in-person events, virtual events, webinars, podcasts, public speaking tips, exhibit sales, all of that. What we found is that the world of events is kind of very stale, and we just think there's better ways to kind of mix it up. So we're bringing together the best of the best from all over the place. All the leaders from HubSpot events are going to be speaking. Broadcom events are going to be speaking. Big, small, all of it. It's 100% free. It's virtual. Hopefully you check it out. It's ventastic.com. And yeah, no, this has been super fun. I appreciate you including me in on this.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, your events tend to be like a tend to receive, right? You don't have replays or on demand available to your events. Is that right? So you got to go live.
Yeah, so we started something new, which everyone should rip off because it works so well, which is the idea of earned on demand, which means that for our events, they're usually multi-day events. If you need to attend 1 hour of our events to get the on-demand link, if you don't come for an hour at least, you don't get the on-demand link. So this idea of earned on demand, and that lets our show-up rates go really, really high.
That's awesome. Awesome. Jay, thank you so much. This has been awesome. Be sure to check out the agenda, folks. We've got a really great Demand Gen Jam session in store for March. You can learn more about that in the agenda. We also have links to how to get a hold of Jay. If you are not following this man, you need to be following him. He's got lots of great tips. As you can tell just from the session today, it's all very actionable. It's all very data driven. You won't be disappointed if you don't follow this guy. He's very, very great in terms of all the things that he knows related to marketing. Jay, thank you so much. And everybody on the session, thank you guys. We'll see you next month. Until next time, have a great day. Bye, everybody.